Hi, welcome to the Vedic Astrology Full Moon Forecast for October 1st, 2020. The moon is waxing, the energy is increasing. How are you feeling? The moon is waxing, getting bigger and brighter, and on October 1st, 2020 at 2:04 p.m. Pacific Time, the moon will reach the end of the Purnima Tithi, its brightest point, and then begin to wane again. Nervous, agitated, concerned, excited. The full moon is a crescendo of energy, and this full moon is the first full moon of autumn in the northern hemisphere, the harvest moon. So it's a very important full moon of activity, of preparation, of harvesting, bringing in and checking on our resources, really reconnecting with our vision of how we're going to move through the winter months as well. So it's a time of preparation. In Vedic astrology, this full moon is in Uttara Bhadrapada, Uttara Bhadrapada nakshatra. This is a lunar mansion, or kind of an area of the sky where the great square of Pegasus is. It's a big square that symbolizes actually a deathbed or a funeral cot that we carry the body in to be cremated. So this area of the sky has a lot to do with endings, actually, death and letting go, which is a lot about the end of the season here. And what we harvest is also the end of a growth cycle, which makes sense because this full moon in Vedic astrology and sidereal zodiac is in Pisces, the very last of the signs as well. So this is a deep, can be a very introspective time in some ways, but also a very active, action-orientated time as well. So it's a very powerful full moon for doing inner work and also taking things to the next level, I feel, with how you're working with others. There are so many more things happening, coming up through the rest of the year. We have, today, actually, as I'm recording this, Saturn is going direct. We have also a very powerful lineup of eclipses coming up and other important astrological lineups. So this is just the beginning of a kind of a portal opening up, it looks like, through the end of the year, where there's just so much going on a higher level. One of the biggest changes that just happened was the Rahu-Ketu, the north and south node of the moon. They changed signs. This is a very important shift. The nodes, Rahu is the head of the snake, Ketu is the tail of the snake, the eclipse shadow that is said to swallow the light of the sun and the moon in eclipses. Whenever they change signs, it's like a river shifting slightly in its current. Now, this happens every 18 months. We have a Rahu and Ketu transit, but this one is going to be a pretty important one because of the nature of the signs Taurus and Scorpio and how the moon especially behaves in these two signs. And so lunar eclipses are going to be very strong in the next 18 months. So I'm giving a full class on this on October 11th about Rahu and Ketu, their symbolism, and what it means in Vedic astrology when they're in Taurus and Scorpio. And also historically, we're going to take a little look at some past charts and different times these eclipses have happened in this area. Also, we're going to run through the 12 horoscopes. So if you want to know how it's going to affect you on a personal level, how it's going to be in relation to your Vedic sign, you should sign up for my web class. So check it out. I have left a link in the description window and on my website, anandastrology.com. A remarkable thing about this full moon is its proximity to Mars. Mars, this red planet, the warrior planet that symbolizes courage and willpower and independence. Mars is at a very powerful point right now because his luminosity is very bright. It's It's very close to Earth. So he appears much brighter right now, and he's going to be quite close to the full moon. So, if, on the first, if you can go out and look at the full moon, you'll see a bright star next to it. It's actually Mars there. Now, Mars next to the full moon is going to give it a bigger push. In fact, ever since Mars started his transit through Aries, where he is right now, there's been more fires, of course. There's been a lot more kind of intensity. Aries is where Mars is, his own sign. So there's a lot of fire there. There's a lot of assertiveness. There's a lot of courage. There's kind of almost sort of more of an ability to take risks and not think so much, right? Mars is going to be going over the last degree of Pisces, the first degree of Aries, that very, ending and beginning, the death and rebirth of the zodiac, on October 3rd. That degree in Vedic astrology is called Gandanta. Gandanta is sort of an edge point, sometimes translated as a knot, a granti, a karmic knot, where like something's tied up, something's there, right? Sort of a wall between the fire and the water. That, if you can mix fire and water, they say in alchemy anyway, there's the substance of gold, right? But normally these two elements, they don't mix. So there's a very kind of volatile and dangerous kind of energy around this time, October 3rd, October 4th. So be aware of that. There's a lot of potential for transformation and change as well. Another really important thing that's happening right now, it's actually happening as I'm recording this today, September 28th, Saturn is turning direct. It's old Lord of Karma Saturn is finally just come to a complete stop today. If you've been feeling exhausted or overworked, or maybe just depressed or down, not really knowing why, Saturn's station is a heavy time because Saturn's energy is just dead stop for several days when he stations. Now, this is the kind of tipping point, September 28th, and he's going to slowly start to move forward after this. He's in the nakshatra still of Uttara Bhadrapada, the universal star, which is a very dharmic area. It's actually Saturn's element. He loves to try to cut through ego and illusion and selfishness and come into a higher mind, something that goes beyond our personal needs so that we can see what the world needs, right? So this full moon is quite potent, and as we go forward, like I said, the astrology is going to continue to be quite transformative and potent and allowing for a lot of change. It can be positive if we use it right, but we have to brace ourselves as well, because if we are holding on to old ideas right now, stuck in old sanskaras and old trenches of our mind, we are going to be kind of swept away in a river. This is a really remarkable time to get some consciousness and look at your patterns, look at how you're cooperating with it and how you can use your will to maybe shift the river, to change the energy. As I was saying, this is a powerful time to wake up in many ways, grow up too, and see how our lives affect others, how our choices and our power, we are powerful, and how we use our power, how it affects the earth and the balance of nature as well. Yes, so this is an important full moon coming up. Let's just see though what the tarot cards have to say about this full moon in Uttara Bhadrapada. Okay, wow, so the first card that came up is the Death card. There he is with his sickle. harvesting. Like we are at the harvest, at least in the northern hemisphere we are. And like I was saying earlier in my forecast, there's so much about death and transformation and rebirth, right? About where this full moon actually literally is positioned at the very end of the last sign in Pisces, with Mars, that energy crossing right back through retrograde between Aries and Pisces. The ending and the beginning. Harvesting, the end. To move forward into a new beginning. And, wow. This card's called the Eon in this deck, but it's the Judgment card. In a lot of traditional decks, you'll see it's kind of showing an image of sort of like the apocalypse or the ending days, I guess. That biblical idea of this kind of last judgment. You know, this card often to me really means that there's something very destined and collective happening around all of this as well. It's the element of fire too. Fire as the element that destroys, that burns things away, right? But also purifies. And this very luminous Mars is very, as I was saying, very bright and close to the earth in sidereal Aries right now. And also Jupiter is in Sagittarius, which is actually quite a blessing on all of this. But there's a fire of spirit, kind of like a phoenix wanting to rise. It's kind of what these are like. Phoenix being reborn out of the ashes. And then finally, the 8. Old tree. Maybe this is about Saturn. 8 is a number of Saturn. And there's something here about, well, there's a lot of change and transformation, as I was saying. And some plants that we harvest only live one cycle, right? We harvest them in. But others we harvest and they go on living for many years, like from trees. So how do we protect what's rooted? How do we connect to what's universally beneficial for this world, this earth? Quite literally the trees, maybe. Or what's sustainable? What will come back again in time? Takes a level of commitment and willpower and faith to trust it will. Patience, too. That things don't have to be so easy and convenient. Take a look. Endings, goodbyes, harvesting what is done, and setting yourself free. Connect to the fire of spirit. It burns within you and it is pure like a child. It's what you have in common with everyone else. If we are to sustain life, if we are to sustain abundance, if we are to continue, look to the roots of the earth and how things grow. You are just a branch in a great tree, a world tree that is always giving fruit. that has its own time to ripen. And that goes on living long after you die. Wow, yeah, it's the harvest moon. Well, thanks for coming to the In Industry Astrology Full Moon Forecast. I do offer one-on-one tarot readings like this and Vedic astrology readings on my website. You can book a time on Zoom. We can talk, or by phone if you like. Also, don't forget about my webinar coming up. It's a web class, I should say. It's a class, a 2-hour class that's going to be on October 11th. Check out the link and get into that. And also, like my YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. And get on my newsletter. It's free. And I will see you soon on the next new moon, Navaratri, coming up.